And in fact, we're not ready in terms of infrastructure. We're not ready in terms of more cybersecurity layers. We're not ready in terms of other infrastructure layers. So now we are facing another problem. Sometimes technology success is a curse and a blessing at the same time, because if you're a victim of your own success, and you're able to prepare the sustainability model. And thank goodness, last year, for the first time, our president signed the law, okay, to sustain e-government, these 28 beautiful platforms. There's a new law now to sustain this, to create, an office, a new office called e-government office, like a GovTech Singapore office, like GovTech Philippines office. So we have that now. 2 months ago, the IRR, or the implementation rules and regulations, was signed already by our minister. So that office is now a separate office. So we have now the GovTech Philippines office now for the first time. So that's just 2 months ago. I hope I have time to explain to you the 28 platforms live. In fact, on November, since we are the one chairing the ASEAN, where we will be conducting a technical workshop of all the 28 platforms. Hopefully, some of you can attend on November. But I would like to discuss with you the digital enablers. Forget about the 28 platforms. These are the horizontal foundation of what we're doing now in the Philippines. We have 6. The first one is the eGovDX. The job of the eGovDX is an interoperability platform. The job is to make sure do not repeat the data anymore. The second one is the eGov Super App, the one that we have 60 million downloads now with more than 800 million transactions. The job of the eGov Super App is to unify siloed systems in a single interface. Don't ask them to go to thousands of websites and register again and again, or physically fall in line. The third one is the eGov Cloud. So the job of the eGov Cloud is to enable and secure government cloud services. The fourth one is the eGov Chain, to make sure that there's a secure data exchange platform, including the storage and digital integration. The fifth one is the eGov AI. So AI is already becoming a foundation already, because if you use manual things, you waste a lot of time. It's an automation engine. It's an automation engine. I know a lot of topic about AI, but focus on something that automate things to make things simpler. So the AI is actually to automate government processes and citizen response. And lastly, our digital national ID. We have 91 million digital national ID. 95% of our citizens, they already have the digital national ID. And it's something to integrated with thousands of government agencies. So government efficiency is very important. It's always the game. It's not about just talking things, picture taking, or, government announcement that we've done this, we've done that. People don't believe, not unless they experience it, not unless they're able to experience it by themselves. So surprisingly, we did not expect this, honest to goodness. Even me, we're having problem now with sustainability, to be honest with you. That's why we're talking to several partners. We even wanting to invite, foreign entities to invest, or maybe PPP projects to sustain what we're doing in the Philippines, because we cannot lie. We need a lot of help because of this success story that we are now experiencing. Because we're moving into paperless governments, very successful. We did not expect this. And success is also we feel like we're failing because we're not able to, to predict, okay, what will happen after success. Cashless payments. In the Philippines, we're moving into cashless society already. More than 90% of our transactions in the government are now cashless, can be done online. Contactless transaction, can you imagine, 700 times percent? You don't need anymore to fall in line. You can do that while having coffee at home. Majority of our government services, and that's also scary. Don't you know that we don't even have budget in terms of cloud services? Can you believe that? Because we didn't expect that people will embrace this. And now it's our time now to we're begging also budget from the Congress and Senate that come take a look at our success. We need to sustain. We don't even have budget in cloud services. So these are the things that we are really, if I may say, also suffering in terms of sustainability. Okay, so I hope I have more time to explain. I see a 5 minutes clock at the back. Okay, so allow me to show you challenges, lessons learned, lessons, and recommendation. I don't have time to explain all of this, but I'm sure this is also the one that you're experiencing. But honest to goodness, it's really hard to be the government, to be honest with you. Again, it's really hard. But one thing for sure, that when you're able to show to the citizen that this is for them, they will fight for you. You have to let private, the public to join you, implement things for the government. Because if the government alone will do things without the help or pushing of the citizen, we will lose the game. So thank you so much. I hope you, with our humble beginnings and with our humble success in the Philippines, I hope I was able to show you some of the learnings that we have since AI is also our foundation moving forward. Thank you so much.
Yeah, could invite me one question. Would like to take one question? Okay. We guys have time for one question. Any questions from the audience?
Louis Dickion from Global Council for Responsible AI. What's the game plan for coming of quantum technology? Elaborate and share that. Okay.
Yeah, well, we are very predictive in nature. Okay, since we have a new office that's actually implementing new things. Maybe one of the, if I may say, humble success story is we don't want to go with like enhancing our legacy systems. We jump ahead. And this is the new model if you are a latecomer, like the Philippines. If you're a latecomer or late mover, you have an advantage because you don't need anymore to go with the legacy problem issue. So quantum is also part of our preparation already. So we prepare. So that we're able to adapt as well this kind of new technology. In fact, it's quite predicted, but AI is still like a reigning horse, a dark horse in the Philippines. And since the Philippines is a young generation, our average age is around 23, 22 years old. So our people are like into new technology. In fact, a lot of startups now they are now moving into quantum technology, experimentation to prepare for that particular journey. But for sure, we don't have choice but to adapt, as soon as possible. And also, we have new laws that we are being crafted. We are so-called emerging technology, okay, to make sure that we are prepared. We're also building a lot of innovation hubs moving forward to support startups as well. Because if we focus on government efforts, they cannot sustain it. We need to engage private, okay, to make sure that we have that sustainability. And even the quantum technology experience or implementation moving forward, all thing the thing that the government can do maybe in the policy side, but technology and sustainability side is still be done by the private entities.
All right. Thank you, Yusek David. Thank you for sharing. And we'd now like to invite you back to your seat. Thank you so much. Uh, Next, we'll hear from Fortinet, Michelle Perano, Regional Solution Architect of Fortinet. She will be sharing about adoption to protection, the CXO imperative in an AI-first ASEAN. Michelle, please.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Yusek David as well. I was actually an ex-Filipino, but now I transitioned into a Singapore citizen. And yeah, then I have to give up. I'm so sorry. So I'll have fun using the e-travel app. If you guys manage to go to for holiday in the Philippines, you'll definitely get to know about the e-travel app. It's similar to Singapore government where you have your particulars you have to put in and then can enter the which is pretty good. I can see a very good progress in kudos for that. Okay, so on my end, I am representing Fortinet, which is a vendor, of course, but I am a cybersecurity regional solutions architect, and I do cover the Southeast Asia region. And particularly, I'm quite expert in terms of healthcare vertical, which is the most widely attacked vertical in terms of cybersecurity. And this is where we have a lot of controls in place, and the AI adoption is really on top. If you hear about Taiwan, South Korea hospitals, they have state-of-the-art platform. They have done way back then before COVID era. Okay, so all their platforms, all their diagnostic, images has been transitioned into an AI-enabled platform. And now I am helping a bunch of platform providers and medical devices providers as well to develop such a way that it's going to be they're going to go have and have to offer for all the hospitals AI-driven hospital information platform that covers a lot of things. You know, the hospital information system includes billing, admission, diagnostics, imaging, results of your scans, so all in there in one platform. So let's go ahead. Okay, so I will talk in summary, just to give you an overview, all the way from the adaptation of all the organizations as well as the protection. Okay, so I think the focus here is more towards AI adoption, but we don't talk about protection. And most of our users, they're not aware. And they just like the convenience of having an AI assistant. They're probably leveraging on Gen AI, public LLM, like ChatGPT, Claude, and everything to generate a lot of things, make their life easier. You know, you have to come up with a new campaign, new initiative, and you got it from where? Notebook LLM. You might be having to generate an image for your new platform release that is initiated by your organization or probably your department, and then you email it to all your staff, which is the image is actually probably generated by ChatGPT, Claude, right? Yeah, so all of those were actually AI generated, and most of the end users are actually leveraging from this public available LLM, so Gen AI. And uh, we don't talk about the risk first. We talk about the benefit, which our USEC and other speakers have already informed you guys, informed the rest of the audience, that there's a lot of benefit, especially in healthcare. Operational efficiency. Now, if we are one of the patients in a healthcare organization, right, we don't want to carry our images, our lab results anywhere we go. Like, I'll give you an example here in Singapore. We are moving towards a national electronic health record consolidation. This means that wherever I go, whether it's a public or private hospital, I don't need to carry along with me all my medical results, all the images. We have a single platform where all the hospitals are actually copying all the data from each of the hospitals, go back to the centralized database, and every doctor that I go, whether it's private or public healthcare or hospital that I want to go, like clinic, they have your information. Oh, like for example, I was so surprised. I went into one of the clinic and they told me, oh, yesterday you had a X-ray. You took the following medication. And I was so surprised. They have the historical data, which is pretty good. How do I feel? I feel very easy because it's enhancing my patient journey. I don't need to carry everywhere I go all my results. And it's pretty good. It's a platform. Yeah. So some of you have been developing some organization, whether it's a private sector or public sector initiative, we are moving towards a so-called platform to integrate all the systems that are using or leveraging from AI, right? And this is a good. It's 87% of accuracy when it comes to improvement in healthcare diagnostics. Also, it is the task of the doctors. Yeah, yeah, they have the initial diagnosis. And of course, you might be, a lot of doctors are complaining when we had a CXO event last year in South Korea. They told us that without seeing the actual wound, the actual, actual thing, it's a bit difficult to diagnose, right? So there's human validation. Okay, so the simple symptoms, simple, tasks, it can be done by the AI. So triage, for example, when you want to go and go to a specialist, you have those like check-in section, we call it triage, right? And you can actually do that in the app. There's a queue app for you all together, and the specialist is there all together in one app. And that skips, the queue, and it will give you an alert. You're like 10 minutes before your turn, right? So I can do whatever I want to do. Just, if there's a shopping mall, I can just shop first and then come back, and just it's my turn. It's convenience, right? It also enhances the decision, and also we have autonomous car. Okay, I think in Singapore we've seen a couple, but I'm not sure in other countries. I think we'll do a pilot. I'm also involved. Someone asked about quantum, and I'm also involved in a quantum security for those humanoid. Humanoid to replace, I'm so sorry, to replace those delivery. So whether it's a Grab, Food Panda, or anything, there is a trial, like some sort of initiative from one of the areas in some sort of a community here. And they're testing whether humanoids or robots can actually deliver all those food, and at the same time they're secured, they're quantum safe. And this is we are ready for this one. Fortinet is actually ready for that. And the one thing is really good, really beautiful. AI helps a lot. Human is still there. We do the decision, the feeling, right? AI can do autonomously design, but at the same time, we can intervene on top and we do those things that requires feeling, right? Decision that requires feelings. Humans will still be there. However, when we adapt all of these beautifully designed initiatives on AI, the risk level increases, right? So last time it's just pretty simple. It's a hardware that you deploy in your company. You have the router, you have the switch, you have all of this, but there's no and virtualization comes into the picture. Cloud adoption comes into the picture, and now AI comes into the picture, and it's very, very hard to secure. And this is where a lot of challenges that we face, like shadow AI, what does it mean? You don't know which staff use Claude. You don't know which staff, which of your staff get leverage from ChatGPT to send his or her email. Or probably this is very critical in a hospital when the doctor wants to send an email to an important patient, and he wants his email to be really perfect, right? And he used those public Gen AI to go and generate their email. And what happens is there's some sensitive information in there, like the national ID or IT number, probably the entire PHI and the PII of that person is actually pasted in Claude, pasted in ChatGPT, or pasted in Gemini. And this is what we don't see. We can't protect your environment if you don't see it. We don't know, and we can't identify who amongst your employees are actually leveraging from it. And there's controls in place. You need to have visibility and you put controls. And those were the things. And data leakage, this is what I highlight, and regulatory breaches. So those other countries that are very new to AI adoption, there's no regulatory, or any law to protect yet. But of course, other countries like those European AI Act, they have maximum fine up to 35 million euros. If you breach. Okay, so all of this innovation, I happen to see a lot of innovative transformation, whatever it is, hospital, institutions, other verticals. It's pretty good. It's pretty good initiative. However, cyber security or security is not actually what they always think, because all of this are initiated by board of directors. The board of directors, what are those? They might be doctors who doesn't even know the risk in terms of cyber. Some board of directors, if it's a vertical manufacturing, they don't have any idea where the risk in the OT devices, those legacy devices. When I say legacy, is 20-year-old device that is running on XP, for example. So you wouldn't know. Those were a lot of, I think some, here, maybe sometimes, some organizations are still using XP, Windows 7, probably because that manufacturing device cannot work with other OS. And if I want to go and upgrade that device, it costs me how much? Millions of dollars. Same goes in a hospital. If I want to go and change my MRI machine, which only can have a viewer that runs on XP, I can't really change. It costs me millions. And what is the interim solution for that? And that's really risky. It can be compromised. If I'm the attacker, I will compromise that device and I'll move laterally within the system. So whatever AI model that you've been developing, all of those I can compromise and I can breach, right? And all your organization is going to be, hiatus, and you don't know what to do unless you have IR in place, right? That's why the big word in cybersecurity now is resilience. Resilience. And this is what usually hospitals usually take into consideration. Hospitals, believe it or not, always get breached. They don't let you know. They always get breached. And not once, but twice, sometimes thrice, on certain portions. And they still can operate. They still have the robotics operation. They still save life. And this is really important. They need to be functioning, even though they have been breached. Why? Because they plan to have resilience. Resilience is to withstand even you had breach. And make sure you have not only the technology, that's really important, of course, how smart the technology is good, but also your process and your people should be in place. And this is my message later on. And in every journey that you go, whether it's innovation, consolidation, digital transformation, security is actually the very fundamental. And I'll give you some numbers from the Forrester. We also work together with Fortinet, and these are the numbers. 63% in Southeast Asia are AI-driven threats. And what does the company have? They have the following. Most of the companies or organizations, they think that, oh, let's just say, make it to be like very simple. I have all the technologies. I have the best of breed. However, it doesn't integrate or correlate with one another. You don't have a single tool or platform to view from endpoint to network to all the tools. And it's really fragmented. Now, one thing is in cybersecurity, there's a skills gap. AI as well, So we capture the cybersecurity, there's still a skills gap, and then we have AI adoption. The risk of attack surface is there. It's really huge, and you have a skills gap, and that's really a problem. It's 55% on skills gap. That's why your model, I think most of you are C-suite here. The model that you usually adapt to save costs is managed service, right? Managed service what? We outsource. Other people come in and manage. And you have one guy, or maybe two guys that is there to check, from time to time. And also regulatory pressure and alert overload. Okay. So what are the things? There's only 4 things. I have to quickly, just let me know if I'm already 15 minutes. I have to quickly say, what are the 4 things that you have to check if you are adapting AI platforms, okay? Adapting AI in your organization. And this is the security rules that you have to take note. There are 4 of it. You make sure that you build the AI readiness, okay, for all the users. Reduce complexity. If you have a lot of cybersecurity tools, make sure to assess it. Are you just buying because it's new, it's fancy, it's good, and your vendor asks you have a very good relationship? Or, and then this is very important, number 3, get ready that you always get breached, okay? Just assume everybody will get a breach at any point of time. You'll get attacked for sure. You might be thinking the attacker is coming from outside. Most of it is internal attack, okay? Most of it. I've talked to one of them. They say they've been attacked externally. But the second attack that they have experienced is coming from one of their super admin user. This means it was a network engineer working in that company. His credential has been leaked. And he's the only one guy who asked himself to exclude from the rollout of MFA. You guys know MFA, right? Two-factor authentication. So when we log into any of your bank accounts, it usually asks you for fingerprint, to authenticate, to find out it's you, or it links to your national ID app to find out that this is really you logging in. And that person is an admin person who excludes himself into the rollout because he said that I need to have full access for all the network. And his credential was leaked, internal breach. They just purchased a new device, by the way, new cybersecurity tool. Nothing happened. They got breached. And make sure you got an IR for that. IR is really important. What's IR? Incident response. If either you subscribe into an incident response provider, make sure that they're ready. If there's any breach, activate them. Or you have your team internally. If there's any breach, what are the processes that you need to do? Okay? To make sure that you're resilient enough to withstand the attack. And then strengthen visibility and control. You can't put all the controls if you don't have visibility. Who are the users? Who is adapting AI? What platforms are using? What are the AI platforms? Where is it located? And where do we need to provide our protection? Is it in the perimeter? Is it on the second layer or third layer, for example? Is it on the endpoint, right? Okay, I'll go quickly. Any questions? Maybe later. Okay, so yeah, so how the attacker thinks is really standard. Okay, all the way. We go back to the previous attack like DDoS attack and everything. Attacker now is pretty smart because they have AI to help them to do the code, right? I don't need to think about a code. I just execute the code, right? Into multiple server all around the globe. And I can just attack simultaneously, right? So this is AI-driven attack with the help of even a simple Gen AI to generate the code for me, right? And this is really good tactic from the attacker. However, your organization is a defender, but the defender has a lot of state-of-the-art technology. However, there's no integration and there's no visibility. Okay, that's the reason why on my end, as a solutions architect, I usually don't sell. Okay, I'm so sorry, I don't sell, but I educate the customer. I educate organization. What do they have? What can you optimize from it? What can you leverage of what you have to save costs? I'm trying to help organization to save costs. And I will assess their environment and only recommend what is necessary. What do they need? And come up with a roadmap. A roadmap is really good. You want to buy all the platforms is okay, but you buy it in a roadmap. Which one do you need first? Okay? What is the main gap that you have? And this is a procurement trap, by the way. So if you want to adapt vaccine, endpoint protection, and other things, this is fancy tools in cybersecurity. But some of it, some organizations, they have a mistake on just buying the best of breed. Just getting, oh, this is a very popular switch, I'll buy this brand. This is a very popular firewall, I'll buy this brand. But it's not communicating to one another. If you want to go and troubleshoot, it's a bit difficult. I myself was actually a senior network engineer. I'm a technical person before I joined to become a pre-sale. Okay, so I know how hard it is to troubleshoot if your solution is really fragmented and different departments. So we have cyber team, we have network team, we have app team. They don't talk to one another. The worst case is in hospitals. They have biomedical team who manage the devices, those legacy devices. They don't talk to IT people. And those medical devices are really, really high risk, running on XP, running on Windows 7. So, okay, so now we have to have an integrated solution. We have to rethink our cybersecurity architecture. And this is where I'm coming from. Being an architect, I will let you know what is the best design, but probably later, if you visit our booth outside, we have a Fortinet booth, I can talk more, okay? So re-architecting your design, you have so many tools, and how can they work with one another? I know it's pretty high level here, But if you go and involve me deep dive, I can actually provide you a very deep dive architecture. Okay, so most of the solution, the technology, they have agents, and it's really fun, right? Ah, they got an agent, it's good. But those agents is not good enough. Okay, so you might have an agent for endpoint, you might have an endpoint security, you might have an agent for network, you might have an agent for another solution, a SOC tool. But it's good to have those agents to communicate with one another, right? You need to have a single platform with those agents on each of the platform, whether it's an agent in network, endpoint, identity, cloud, and operational technology. By the way, I'm coming from the network security background, and what we have here is more towards infrastructure security, endpoint security, and security operations. Oops, sorry. Okay, so we need to have unified data, integrated controls, continuous learning. They're telling me 2 minutes more. Okay, so I'll just give you a solution stack overview. We have what we call AI for security, and what is that? All those agents, NOC or SOC, to help as an assistant. This will help you ease and make it easier. If you have been there's anomaly within your network, if there's any breach, it will inform you immediately. So it will take over the level 1, level 2 job of the engineer. Okay, triage, threat hunting, log monitoring. It's going to be done by the agent. And also protect. Those were solutions that are AI-driven solutions, cybersecurity solutions that can help you understand within your network specific baselining. And if there's anomaly, it will inform and alert your network staff. And then secure AI. This is where we secure the infrastructure itself. If you're building your own model, this is the best because we have all the solutions to just put all the security in place. Oops, and it's actually a journey. So what is your AI journey? Okay, is it shadow AI lockdown? Users who wants you need to identify who's using those, public LLM, and you need to protect them. And then, do you have any autonomous threat detection, which is a SOC solution? Agentic AI framework, which it can do the level 1, level 2 job of the engineer, and it's easier. You have lesser, workload for your staff. And then LLM and AI Factory is more towards organizations who build their own model. Okay? And these are all, I'll just go through very quickly. How many minutes I have? 0 minutes. Yeah, I know. Okay. Can you give me 2 more minutes very quick? Okay, so this is shadow lockdown. Okay, when I say shadow AI lockdown, right? If I go and paste information online in ChatGPT, I will be blocked. Let's just say if it's detected that it is a national ID, the name of the full name of the person with the national ID, and it will be blocked. Okay, or maybe I'm asking about the source code of specific something, you will be blocked. Okay. Also, autonomous threat detection. This is baselining of your existing network endpoint. Those were product AI, okay? So cybersecurity solution that is driven by AI, okay? And also, agentic AI platforms, as I mentioned, as agents working together. It can also integrate with external party, and it can give you overview of what's happening. It can help you mitigate a threat and do the threat level 1, level 2 job of the engineer. Okay, and then we have what we call AI proxy. Okay, I know I'm talking about product here, but AI proxy is I've never seen anyone doing that before. But if you integrate your model to the external LLM, there should be something as a gateway here to make sure that what goes out and comes in is clean. Okay, and we call that the AI gate. It's a gateway for you for all your AI platform to communicate with the public LLM. And this is where we partner with NVIDIA, for those having their own model, developing their own model, run by NVIDIA. This is what we have. And complete suite of architecture and solution. Probably you want to deep dive, you ask me later. Okay, I'll just go through very fast. We have integration to a lot of solutions, 20 plus solutions with AI power, and 500 patents on AI, ASIC powered. And the last one, we are also part of a CSR. We are also part of the 40 plus vendors who is part of testing the Anthropic Miners model. And that's it for my end. And if you have more questions, just visit us. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Sorry. Thank you.
All right. Next, we have a panel session from our distinguished guest, panelists. The panel topic is fragmented pilots to shared platforms, building ASEAN's AI public infrastructure. We'd like to first invite Mr. Ahmad Yusri Muhammad, Chief Digital Officer, Johor Corporation, Malaysia. Then we have Datuk Mahathir Aziz, Chairman, Group MD, Data Center Industry Association of Malaysia, Johor Capital Group. We also have Jose Castaneda, Vice President Innovation and Intelligence, Air Trunk Singapore. And Mr. John Lim, Chief Digital Officer, Gamuda, Malaysia. All right, panelists.
Thank you, Darren. Hi, everybody. Good morning. So, I think from this morning we heard from Deputy Secretary General, Mr. Sabinder, about how AI is consuming mainly the resources, right? In terms of mineral, power, water, and also resources in terms of storage. And then we heard from Mr. Sim about how government services can be scaled. And then from Philippines also how they are integrating all the services, combining all the resources. And at ASEAN level, it is also basically the same thing, right? We need to be able to pool the resources, share whatever that we can share, right? From the developed countries to less developed countries, everybody should be entitled to have their own share of these resources so that they can also move forward in the learning curve of AI and be beneficial and be profitable together with the rest of ASEAN. So my name is Yusri Muhammad. I'm the Chief Digital Officer of Johor Corporation. That's across the causeway. And I'm also the council member for AI and Robotics Wisdom Council of ACXOA. So we opened the question with, how we can have an AI infrastructure that can serve everybody without having everybody to, also incur too much expenses in terms of sharing and so on. So if you look at the normal progression, so normally people we have AI as a pilot, but it's very difficult for almost everybody, regardless of even in Malaysia, Singapore, or other countries. The problem is to scale, right? Because that requires a different skill set, different discipline. So that's why I think based on the statistics, 80% of the pilot can't even scale because of all these problems. So that's how the idea come forward to create this AI public infrastructure for ASEAN, especially looking at people, healthcare, and also society. And with us today to discuss about how to do it. I mean, there's no more discussion of whether this is good or not good. It is more discussion of how we're going to do it. So with us today, I have three gentlemen here. The first one on my left is Dato' Mahathir Aziz. He's from Johor Capital Group and also the chairman of Data Center Association of Malaysia. But I think he's more well known as the previous CEO of Malaysian Digital Economy Corporation and Bank. His angle will be on the ecosystem and policy dimension. What does AI shared infrastructure means and how we can utilize that and who needs it the most in the region. And next to him is I get it right. Mr. Jose Castaneda from ETRAN. He is the VP Innovation and Intelligence of ETRAN. He's been with ETRAN since his earliest day, and I think ETRAN is also quite a well-known company as a DC operator. They have multiple campuses, especially in Johor, with about I think 12 billion ringgit already committed for the infrastructure. And Jose's angle will be on the infrastructure operators' honest view, what can be built, what needs to be there, what's missing currently, and what the shared AI public infrastructure really requires. Right? And then the last gentleman there is John Lim Jiseong from Gamuda. Gamuda Berhad is, of course, a big conglomerate, major infrastructure developer across 9 countries. John himself is involved in building multiple boards, Gamuda AI Academy, and of course, being in construction. They're also quite famous in the tunneling technology, and I believe a part of his contributions on the autonomous tunneling technology. John has been conferred with IDC CIO City of the Year Malaysia 2025, and then his angle will be mostly on the enterprise practitioner's view, what it costs to build AI with shared infrastructure in mind, and then what are the costs, without shared infrastructure. So basically, at the end of this session, we want to establish 3 things. Number 1 is on the clarity, right? What shared AI infrastructure in Asian actually looks like, and why the window to build such infrastructure is now. And number 2 is revolving around the honesty, the real critical gaps and blockers, so that the committee at ASEAN level has a genuine work plan and not just a wish list. And number 3 is about the concreteness. How soon we can do this, and what are the tangible items that we can deliver in the next 12 months, for example, that can demonstrate the feasibility, the viability, and also the usability of such platform, right? To start, I'm going to go with John first because I introduced you the last. So John, I mentioned before, Gamuda operates across 9 countries with massive AI deployments. The so-called tunnel inside, autonomous TDM, and so on. When you try to scale on AI solution from one country to another, what actually happens? Walk us through the process. How do you avoid fragmentation, between scaling, from one project to another, or from one country to another?
Thank you, Yusri, and very nice to meet all of you. So we need to give a bit of context. Gamuda is a construction and engineering company. We are based in Malaysia, Singapore, Australia, Taiwan, Vietnam, all the way up to the UK. So as Chief Digital Officer, I oversee the IT landscape for all our different regions. It's an interesting thing you point out because I think in in the ideal world, I would say that actually fragmentation is not a problem because you could just spin up cloud and then after that, you put a region in Australia, put a region in Singapore, etc., and it should be no problem. But we do a lot of government business. So we are building Sydney Metro in Australia. We're building metros here in Singapore. In Vietnam, we do a lot of property development work. Taiwan, we're also building large infra. Every client is different, every jurisdiction is different, everybody has different laws about what they expect with regards to privacy and with regards to sovereignty of workloads in the country. Even in Malaysia, Malaysia also has they call it the sulit rahsia besar, right? The private, secret and top secret classifications of data set by the government. Also, maybe just a bit of context, Gamuda also, I run the technology arm, Gamuda Technologies, where we also sell Google Distributed Cloud for top secret workloads. So that's why I'm quite familiar with these kind of things. And what I'm saying is that every jurisdiction has a different use case, simply because I think everybody views risk differently. And so therefore we have to adapt. For example, when we go to places like Taiwan, it's a very clear requirement that none of our systems can live on cloud. It has to live in a government cloud because we're dealing with a government project. When we go to Singapore, Singapore is a bit more progressive. There's certain things we can do, certain things that we need to comply. When we go to Australia, again, depending on, we serve many different clients from defense to metros to federal governments, state governments in Australia. Everybody has a different requirement. Like even when we build, for example, power infra is considered a national security asset, right? So a lot of that data has to reside onshore. So I think as a CDO, it's not an easy task managing this. I think the way we do it is we try to, of course, we have a standardized template that we apply to everybody, and then we look at exceptions. I think that's the way we deal with it, right? So as much as possible, we want the landscape to be standard, but where we need to make an exception and where we need to find other solutions, that's where we will also do it. So I think we're pragmatic in that sense. Yeah.
Thank you. Next one will be for Dr. Mahathir, right? So you sat on both sides. You sat on MDEC side, where you shape Malaysia's digital infrastructure policy. And now you are on the commercial side, where you're trying to make sure that, each investment will generate returns commercially. And at the same time, you're also chairman of Data Center Operators Association. So there's a lot to digest there. But from your national and regional perspective, from the policy perspective, and also from the commercial perspective, is the fragmentation that John described just now. Is it a technical problem? Is it a policy problem, or is it a will problem?
I think having heard that side, and I think within the context of ASEAN, as we build this, a public infrastructure that is meant to be shared. And I have dealt with ASEAN Secretariat before in various forms and different kind of projects as well. The thing about this is that understanding exactly what each country, as John has alluded to, not just alluded basically from experience as well. Different jurisdictions, different countries, different laws, and different cultures in terms of how to actually exchange data and what we are allowing to be shared and what needs to be retained and confined within your own borders. That needs to be established as we build this vision of a public and shared infrastructure across ASEAN. Ideally, when we talk to technologists, we speak to, and we'll hear from Rosie after this. Technology and technical limitations are actually has a ceiling that keeps moving up, meaning you're still pushing the bar on what is possible, what can be done. And again, the evolution or the changes, the advancements of technologies will push this even further. AI, maybe 5 years ago, was not what it is today. So the same thing with this. We can always do with tech. It depends very much on what do we want to do. What do we want to achieve from having this public infrastructure? I can make an example, for example, in Malaysia. And just now Michelle was presenting on AI healthcare, cybersecurity, and people not willing to share. And I heard also the gentleman from the Philippines. I think the idea of sharing information across governments, public sector are extremely protective of that kingdom. I'm just paraphrasing what you said earlier. And this is not unique to Philippines. It happens in Malaysia. It happens in Singapore. It happens in Dubai. We were there earlier this year as well. But somehow or other, it requires a certain types of authority to actually push this through, provided that everyone agrees on that shared vision, on what is it that we want to share on this public infrastructure. What kind of AI services, what kind of services that we want to build where it can benefit the rest of the citizen, for example. So it is very much, I think, a very long answer to your question, very much on the willpower to do so, whether it's popular to get that done, or whether it can be done, but at a political cost. To some people, to the politicians, to the governments, to the city governments, and so on and so forth. Second part is cohesion in terms of policies. If we want to do this, then everyone has to be in it. So this is where it's a bit more black and white as opposed to gray area. If you want to be in it, you have to be whatever it is that was committed, that is needed and required for you to be able to achieve that. So it's more of that and less technical.
Thank you. So I'm going to swing back to John for a while. So in your view, as ASEAN reached that critical mass that can no longer be a good to have, but it is already a must have. Can all these organizations keep on building their technology stack independently, without having a understanding or cooperation in terms of the resource sharing, especially on the AI infrastructure?
I think when it comes to technology stack, I think it would be, in my view, hard to make everybody choose the same technology stack. I think where we need to standardize is the ability to exchange data in standard formats. If you're looking for data about a particular thing or person or a particular service, whatever has been agreed to be shared is shared via standard formats. But it doesn't mean that the infra or the database or the server where it lives on needs to be the same as everybody else. I think because at the end of the day, outcomes matter a lot more. So when it comes to that perspective, I also think everybody has a different appetite or different spending tolerance, right? So some people might say, oh, risk and also spending, right? So some governments might say, oh, it's okay to be fully on cloud, and that's totally a fine statement to have. There's some people who say, oh, I'm more comfortable with it running in a government data center under my control, totally fine as well, right? So I think given the various different regulations, policies of government, which has to be navigated. I remember just now DSG was talking a little bit about that this morning, about how it's even a law that gets passed, an agreement that gets passed at ASEAN level, eventually needs to be ratified at every different country. So I think as a ASEAN bloc, when we think about it, it is we are not like the EU where it's laws that cascade down to every country. It is through agreement, mutual agreement, and then ratification in their own country. So I think that's where the complication lies.
So continuing from that, right? So let's ask Jose. You are the last in the rotation, but you get the hardest question. Right? As the DC operator, you operate and own a lot, basically like the chunk of the AI infrastructure, because you are controlling the grid and for the AI infrastructure. So from where you sit, is this physical infrastructure that we have throughout ASEAN, is it technically ready and to host such an infrastructure and make it as a AI shared infrastructure that can be shared among all the ASEAN countries? And if is there any critical gap that needs to be addressed? And before we can go and embark on such a project.
I think yes, the capabilities, the technical availability of talent is here, is in the region. We are building data centers that are as complex or as advanced as any data center in the world. At Delta, our biggest and first liquid cooling facility was in Johor, next door. So, and that was probably the largest liquid cooling facility in America at that time. So we are there, we have the resources, but it's not as simple as that. I think capability of building data centers depends on first making sure that the communities around where the data center is built are catered for. So we build responsibly in those communities, making sure that we don't really constrain we don't want to constrain the electricity market. We don't want to constrain the water market. We want to do it the opposite. We want to help to get the better grid, the better water infrastructure where we build data centers. So once we cover those local minimum standards and also on the sustainability side, we then go to how can we give this infrastructure to be shared across the Asian country. And that is probably a government like agreeing on how we do that from a technical perspective. But I think it's also there's a lot of other infrastructure that need to be helping, and those infrastructures are really electricity networks, water networks, but very importantly interconnection, so the connectivity layer, which is the one that will help us connect physically workloads and data center capacities and AI compute capacities. But to do that, that is on the physical side, that is the ugly part of the equation. But there's a lot of layers on top of that of cybersecurity, agreements on sharing protocols and all those digital layers that will need to be agreed upon. But I think from the bulk of my answer is that from an infrastructure perspective, from a data center developer perspective, we are ready to share. The talent in the region is here, and the capabilities are.
Okay. So, Dato' Mahathir, as the chairman of the Data Center Association of Malaysia, so you represent the full ecosystem of DC, DC operators. So from the perspective of DC operators, people like Jose and Tetra, so is there appetite for the industry to contribute towards such AI shared infrastructure? And if they are willing, then how does that mandate, not to say interview, but affecting their normal profitability margin, for example, right? Because of course you give something for free, then there's something that you need to sacrifice. So is there a need or requirement, or what are the trade-offs expectation from the city operators and the other infrastructure provider if they are willing to come in and contribute to such initiative?
Well, I can say publicly, number one, yes, Tetra is part of the DCIA Malaysia as well. I can say at least publicly within the sessions that we have had, there's not been such a heavy discussion with respect to sharing infrastructure on AI, mainly because while we have a bunch of installments in Malaysia, there's a lot more. I think you're looking at least 65% of DC projects, investments are to be further implemented in Malaysia. So that is still ongoing, meaning we are, unlike maybe Singapore, for example, we are still getting new DC players executing the projects, building the DCs and ramping up the clients as well. But that is not to say that we cannot go into this. I think Jose has already shared the technical aspect of this thing. There's aspect of resources, obviously talent that exists within the region as well, and all that comes with it, whether it's on security, whether it's on incentives, actually, for the private sector that are contributing part of the infrastructure, and then the rules for us to know what exactly that you get for how much that you put in. How do you share this across ASEAN, and not even think about all these things, all the aspects of cross-border integration and things like that, and cross-border data flow as well. But again, the reality that we have and must understand, despite the call and the drive to actually have an ASEAN public infrastructure, there's still today a competition that exists among countries within ASEAN, where one country is basically maxing out the resources for DCs, another one pops up and say that you come here and do this over there and throw in more incentives, has this catwalk of talents that they can offer and the markets that they can offer as well. So that is also another set of nuances within the ASEAN community to be able to commit to do something like this, and that needs to be addressed as well. So again, this would be some of these areas. You cannot fault the private sector, the DC players, if there's something cheaper over there. Malaysia recently just came out with one set of requirements and conditions rather for new DC implementations and projects, where there's a set of bank guarantees, there's a set of utilization of power to address the rental demand and all that. I'm sure Jose would know and get from his team as well. So those would be impediments to new expansion or challenges over there, and which then gives rise to another set of opportunities in other countries, and they will just go. And this is the part where I would bring the rest of the group to be able to address that, and then think about using or even sharing this across other countries within the ASEAN community. So again, this would be a set of areas that we can discuss. So the main discussion that we have within the CIA right now, the Center Industry Association of Malaysia, is to look at how do we address that first, where we are and where we want to expand, as opposed to let's go and share and build and connect this interconnected disease in other countries, in other localities that we have. Yeah,
So let's still continue on that one, right? So in terms of who benefits, right, from the so-called AI shared platform. So we are talking about sharing of compute power, open models, common governance. So is it really that straightforward that only ASEAN countries, the less developed ones will automatically improve on it? And because I'm sure they also needs to do something, right? They need to establish, for example, a high-speed broadband infrastructure in order for them to capitalize on this, right? So is it that straightforward that the less developed countries will benefit from it, and the more advanced one, like Singapore, for example, are they just going to be the parties that give everything without receiving anything? Is there a balance somewhere in between those areas? Yes.
Well, I think it's also agreeing in what each country, the role that each country would play within a shared and more integrated or interface infrastructure that is shared across the countries. So again, as I mentioned, some countries who are maybe a bit behind Singapore, for example, that have challenges, more islandic countries like so Indonesia as well, that would find it challenging for them to actually have this kind of infrastructure. So whenever DC players are looking at them, so that becomes a set of FDIs or foreign direct investments that will be good in expanding and developing the country. Those are new investors. So again, they see that as an opportunity. So if there's a set of requirements, like you said, the digital infrastructure connectivity that needs to be there, or access to even basic foundational resources like water and power as well that may not exist in certain islands where it is suitable to do this. Then definitely this is where other countries can actually come in and help on that side. That could be one way of looking at this. So again, like I said, while they compete, all countries will compete against each other. At the same time, we're looking at how do we benefit from this. There's a limit and ceiling to what Singapore has, hence the moratorium a few years ago, and why and how Malaysia benefited from all this. But then again, they're looking at different roles that they play to do. How do we do this vis-a-vis? And we're looking at the Johor Singapore Special Economic Zone, for example, between Malaysia, between Johor and Singapore. Now, if we look at all the other countries within ASEAN with these opportunities and a set of ready investments to be deployed, how do we then work with them? So this is, I think, the balance or that formula needs to be discussed between the countries, between the trade communities, and between obviously the digital side as we go towards the more technical part.
So, John, this is for you. You have launched the Gamuda AI Academy. You trained more than 200 students already. Built a lot of AI capabilities in-house. So, if you are going to start all over again and knowing that there such a shared infrastructure exists throughout ASEAN, what would you have done differently? And how you capitalize on shared, this so-called shared AI infrastructure to your benefit?
Yeah, so maybe for some context, so Gamuda AI Academy was launched together with Google Cloud. The mission is to train Malaysians to become software developers. So we take people from all walks of life, whether they're engineers, whether they are from finance, marketing, whatever, doesn't matter. As long as they have the interest to code, we will train them and give them AI tools in order to succeed. Some of them we will absorb into our company. For the rest, they're also free to find jobs elsewhere. But essentially, I think probably we wouldn't have done anything different, I think, with the shared infrastructure because the skill set is transferable. So the idea is that you have a pool of software developers that can build software solutions and be able to build it on pretty much any stack because the foundations of how you write software code and everything doesn't really change. But I think, on this topic, capability building is very important for ASEAN. I think, yes, we are big on the data center boom. We are excited about the investments coming to Malaysia. But to move up the value chain, similar to what we did with semiconductors, it is that to be able to then offer more than just the land and the infrastructure. Could you actually build stuff with AI and be able to sell it on a global market? I think AI is a very interesting opportunity because AI is a great leveler, I call it. It used to be that software developers, you pay a very high price to get good people to join. But now with AI, a person equipped with AI can actually do the job of a team of 5 or a team of 10, right? So I think it's a very interesting time where now I would say it's democratized to people in ASEAN, right, who might not have had the opportunities, might not have had the pathways, but suddenly because they have the tool, it really puts them at a starting point that is quite respectable. So I think this also means that the value chain moves up, right, in the sense that it's no longer about writing code. The value is actually in the people who understand the domain, understand a particular problem. I think we heard this morning from someone from GovTech. Start from the problem, work out the baseline, right, and find out who the audience is that needs to solve the problem, right? So I think that's really the thinking that ASEAN has many great conglomerates, many great businesses, many great sectors that we're strong at, right? There's no reason why we can't be building the next great tech or the next great thing using AI. So I'm bullish on that. I think as ASEAN, it's more about capability building that will take us to the next level.
So next question is for you, Roland. So let's say we establish this and try to pick your brain on the innovation side, right? What would you think like would be the best use case, one or two use cases that we can immediately pilot and scale to show to demonstrate the effectiveness of such shared infrastructure? Do you have some ideas on which area that we should focus?
I don't have any idea. I can give you my personal view.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because I think what is interesting is what you said, AI can democratize the access to technology, the access to development. But at the same time, AI can democratize this if you have access to the compute, which is the real interesting factor here. And I think one of the use cases that is very challenging and very interesting to share is, I would say, for example, if you look at how AI can unlock the power capacity in the grids, that's a very big use case, especially if we start interconnecting our economies. I mean, our ASEAN countries are not so much interconnected from a electricity perspective, but there's starting to be movements. There's the imports from Malaysia and Malaysia to Singapore. There's starting to be cross-border from Malaysia to from countries. So I think that is a very interesting topic where AI use case, it kind of enables the bigger infrastructure on the bigger collaboration on these facilities. I think healthcare, that they mentioned before, that's a big use case. I think that is where the citizens can feel the advantage of all the government initiatives that made by these colleagues. So these are the very interesting use cases. But I think if we go to in my view, we are looking at just showing you what we are looking at the AI for helping the infrastructure is on the energy side, also on how we build facilities or assets in a more sustainable way and a more faster and efficient way, maybe using digital twins, maybe using simulation technologies, and I think I feel that these putting together different platforms, say similar to the government in the Philippines, that helps data to move faster and easier from general contractors to data center operators to our customers to the government authorities. So this movement of data, even in on the infrastructure side, I think that AI can be an enabler to accelerate the infrastructure.
Okay, so coming back to Dr. Mahathir, so the body that's going to manage such a shared infrastructure, right? It should be viewed as a neutral and trusted party. So in that case, in your experience, right, in MDAC and the chairman of the association, who would be the ideal body to manage? Is it at ASEAN level? Is it a consortium of the service providers and or is there any other parties that you should think can be roped in and then be the so-called custodian of the infrastructure?
Easy answer to that is because I think it's started at ASEAN level, and ASEAN has a separate chairmanship for the digital ministers where they do the song meetings and things like that. That is very much today communication centric. So when I say that, at least within the context of Malaysia, it is very much under the Ministry of Communication. certifications and also MCMC being the regulator, at least looking at the Malaysia side. In Singapore, if I'm not mistaken, it's very much still under IMDA as well, and other related authorities under the Ministry of Josephine. Those would be the areas where each country can be represented and also to deal with the ASEAN Secretariat and the chair for the ASEAN Digital Ministers meeting on this side. And very much the topic of public infrastructure, there was a cross-border this. There was also under the UN trade in terms of trade data, so we can do shipping intercountry and all that. And that is also has been ongoing as well within this context. So I think that would be a quick answer to that. Whether the authority then is built up from a secretariat or a committee of all the regulators for respective countries, that could be something that I would imagine to be the ones monitoring and also looking at the developments and the maintenance of this. Not maintenance per se, but actually progress of the infrastructure.
Okay, so from infrastructure operators perspective, right? So this question is for Jose. What are the non-negotiable technical standards that you have as a DC operator that everybody must follow? Meaning that if you are going to participate in this, then you already have the non-negotiable technical rules that you need to put as part of the condition. I mean, of course, because you are developing this and you are managing this as a business, right? So there must be something that other people cannot come and dictate what you need to do. What are some of those from your?
I think what the standards that we need to kind of agree on for shared infrastructure is basically start with the cybersecurity rules and how we exchange data from one place to another. I think on the infrastructure, it's on the data center infrastructure, there's different ways of doing things, but the reality is that it's a very similar, it's a very common way of building data centers. The AI infrastructure might be different depending on use case and vendors and deployments, but typically it's very standard in the way that you can access different vendors and different solutions. But obviously interoperability standards need to be we need to make sure that we have different platforms can access different types of compute infrastructure. And of course, there will be a lot of legal sovereign data part is probably most complex. I'm not an expert at all, but I think that is dictating a lot of the global scene. The access to chips is a challenge, and it's being driven by tariffs and by restrictions. And that we will need to be very addressed as a global economy, ASEAN. So the access to chips is a very important part, but also how each country blocks that sharing of data or sharing of infrastructure, mostly on the cybersecurity side, but also from a very sovereign and to capture the power of the controlling the data center space. So I think that this brings to like there's a lot of dialogue that needs to happen for this to be agreed. And I think if it's for the good of the countries, the dialogue should be easier. So that's I think my wish.
Zero must make money.
I mean, for the for the operators, yeah, they have to make money. And
I think, yeah, commercially viable it has to be,
Yeah.
otherwise there is no infrastructure. But I put the example of some people say, oh, can you build your data centers in a sustainable way? Can you afford it? And the answer is always yes. We put everything that we need from a sustainable perspective in water treatment plants or utility enhancements. That's part of the business model. So we currently carry the sustainability cost as part of the business model. So has to be viable, but it's not impossible. Viable doesn't mean that it's impossible.
And that's also a reason why we don't have lawyers in our panelists. Otherwise, this discussion would never end. Alright, so we are at the end of our time. So just a quick round for all three of you. Your ideas on what do you think is the most critical success factor? The one or two things that needs to be there in order for the shared AI public infrastructure to be successful. So I start with you, John.
I think, no doubt, number one, I mentioned capability just now. I think it's important that, as ASEAN, we climb the value chain. I think number two is definitely when it comes to utilities, power, water, starting to see that, hey, citizens are concerned, right, about data centers coming to countries. And I think that's why governments need to step in to plan and make sure that we execute it well, right? Data center investments can be a good thing for the country. It just needs to be managed. So I think these are the two key areas that I think one gives us a springboard into a higher value chain. The other gives us a surety that this continues is sustainable for the long term. So yeah, I think these are the two top that we can. Was it?
Yeah, I think, as I said, collaboration is the biggest thing, and I think this is a good forum to see that collaboration happening. But second is speed, is action. Is talking is very good, and we need to agree, but we also need to push for fast action. And maybe we start with pilot, maybe we start with small things, but action is key because that will drive a lot of the progress and will accelerate closing the gap.
Well, that's my I think you put all this aside, there's plenty of capital within the region to make it happen. Technically, definitely, it is very possible. The talents and the economic demands for something like this to happen as well. I think it goes back to this fundamental question of having the vision of success. What is it exactly that you want to achieve from this, and that picture of success, and knowing what exactly that you want. Then that will, put everything into place in terms of what is done, where the capital will be deployed, and what sort of talent that you need to build, or what sort of technology that must exist for this to happen.
Okay, so I believe that's all the time that we have for this one. And I think at 4 o'clock we will be launching the AI Trinity. And this AI platform is part of the ASEAN AI Trinity. So hopefully we have ideas on what's important, what we need, what that needs to be done, and how we can ensure that the project will be successful. So thank you, John, Jose, and Dr. Mahathir for your time. Hope to see you sometime in some other place. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We remain on stage to invite USEC David, also President Naini, and Michelle as well join us, and Chairman. We'll do a group photo. Okay.
nice, guys. Okay, big smile. Here we go. 1, 2, and 3. One more. 3, 2, and 1. Give me a thumbs up for everybody. Here, 1, 2, and 3. And one for the video, please. Okay, for video on a count of 3, I have everybody to thumbs up. Okay. Ready in 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you.
So we'll have lunch now. We'll come back here at 2 p.m.
Yes, I am. So it's very good. I